What's up?
What?
We're all in bed. I love it.
I know. This is too good. Kat, are you eating chocolate?
Mm-hmm.
Eating chocolate in bed. This is how to podcast, girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where's the wine?
Oh,
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
I know. I'd be in bed if I did this. I am. Get it? Joke.
Oh, got it.
I'm like, huh?
It's a joke. Get it? Oh my gosh. Jamie, how are you doing?
So Jamie,
I'm good. How are you guys?
Great.
she's in Florida, Nat. She lives in Florida. So she is like, we're still in lockdown down here, Jamie.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the kids are homeschooled. It's just all a whole bunch of freaking jalopy over here, but
We're in a
whatever.
stay-at-home order, which means it's
Okay.
illegal to leave your house. Oh, it's a whole nother story. And it's not about us today, it's about you.
No, I'm
Yeah.
all about it.
You know, we did your podcast like
A
2
long
years
time
ago.
Yeah.
No way.
Not you're hitting, just so you know. I don't know what
sorry.
you're hitting.
It's my luscious extensions.
2 years ago. And I remember we did it with you and you told your story and we wanted to ask so many questions, but it was your podcast, not ours.
Yeah.
So we had to back it down. But for those, and I was like, we have to get her back on so we can have like a real conversation about, I think just your story will resonate with so many people, especially your childhood and, how that all unfolded to make you who you are today. Cause I think so many moms are so hard on themselves. So why don't you explain who you are? And I also know you're a nurse. So tell us everything and how did you end up with a social media platform?
Well, so I don't even know where to start. I feel like it's a loaded question. I
how does everyone know you all of a sudden? That was from a very popular TV show.
Yeah, well, so it's actually, I feel like, I don't know okay. So first of all, I don't know if you know this, but I was on The Bachelor. So the first show that I was on. Okay. So I was on The Bachelor. I'm like, how far back should I go? I don't know.
Yeah, all of it.
Okay.
That's where I met you.
Yeah. So I was on The Bachelor when I was just a baby. I mean, over 10 years ago, I was just a baby. And I was like, you want me? And I literally, I lived in a trailer park and I had custody of my siblings. And I was like, I mean, my friend was like, we were watching Ali Fedotowsky's season and she was like, oh, this is something you would do. And I was like, oh, I gotta do. I never really had watched it. I didn't really know what it was all about. I thought I could be the Bachelorette. And so when the commercial came on, I was like, yeah, I'm going to apply to be this Bachelorette and I get to choose between these dudes. And I mean, I was like 22 years old and never, obviously didn't have a whole lot of time to watch cable since I was taking care of my siblings and I was also in college. So, I just applied to it and then they called me back and I was like, you want me? Like, really me? And so I ended up going on that show, but I really was kind of more like I felt like I was more like a fly on the wall getting to watch like the behind the scenes of this really popular TV show because I remember saying to the producer, I was like, oh, I really like that girl for him. Like, I really think that they hit it off so well. It was so cute. And she was like, but what about you for him? And I was like, oh, no, not me.
Who was the guy?
Who was the guy? It was Ben Flajnik.
It feels like freaking just yesterday. And wait, hold on a second. I just want to say, what was how you said, oh, they want me? Like, what was in your audition tape or whatever that you think made them pick you? We have a friend who sent in an audition for it. She didn't get chosen, but what was it that they decided to choose you?
I don't know. I mean, now that I'm looking back at it, like, I don't actually really, I mean, I said I was a nurse. I'm like, I don't know. Like, okay. So I said I was a nurse and cause I am a nurse and I was a labor and delivery nurse. And so I talked about that. And then of course I talked about, I live with my sisters and I lived in a trailer and they asked for like a home tour. And so I had I was like, this is so embarrassing. I have to give a tour of my trailer. But I was like, I don't know, but I just did it. And it wasn't a lot. I mean, I did a very little bit of it. And actually, I wish I had that tape because now I'm like, what did I?
No kidding.
I wish you could. Yeah, that would be such a good memory lane. Oh my God.
Yeah, right.
You're still doing your podcast.
Yeah.
That would be such a good throwback listen to it.
Oh my gosh. I like don't even know. I know that I have it somewhere. I just don't have no idea where.
Oh,
But
it's so
anyways,
good.
yeah, I don't know what I did to convince them that I was worthy of going on The Bachelor, but I did a good job because they took me.
Amazing.
Your personality is amazing. So I'm going to
Mhm.
say you are more than worthy. You have an amazing energy
Yeah.
from
Oh,
being,
thank you.
it's always not about being like something or this or that. It's sometimes
And
Yeah.
just
actually, you're
energy.
gorgeous too, and that
Yeah.
seems to matter on that show.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I definitely, did my hair all big and I had my makeup on and, I remember the picture. I was wearing this like cute little, I know the picture. I have the picture still. I was wearing this, what's interesting actually is that
Uh-huh.
the infamous scene of me on The Bachelor, and I'm sure you probably know about it, where I was like teaching Ben to kiss. And if you don't, you have to Google it because it's literally like horrific. If you don't know that scene, just Google Jamie Otis, The Bachelor, and it will be the first video that pops up. It was
No.
forever the number one most awkward moment of all Bachelor history. I was like, here's my claim to fame.
Were you
But anyways,
embarrassed in the moment or you just thought that was a good idea?
well, okay, so of course he's like Prince Charming on the show, so he does no wrong, but he kept on approaching me and now that I have a son, he approaches me like a 1-year-old, like when he was trying to kiss me, because he was like open mouth. So he was like, like approaching me with his mouth open. And I was like,
Dead.
let me teach you. I thought it would be real cute if I was like, let me teach you how I want you to kiss me. And I was trying to be flirtatious and sexy. This is not flirtatious and sexy at all. But like, I was like, just close your mouth. And then like, it's a great 2-minute clip on YouTube if you're interested in a laugh.
I'm
Oh,
very interested in that laugh because I know I saw it live and it sounds familiar, but it was so long ago. So
Yeah.
definitely watching that again.
yeah.
It was a long time ago, but what's interesting is that same dress that I'm wearing when I, give him like I like straddle him and teach him how to kiss, trying to be sexy. And I'm so not sexy at all. Also, terrible idea to try to woo a guy by trying to teach him to kiss. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, kill his confidence right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I
Like,
am
I
never
really
gonna
like
kiss
you.
you again, you know? I have to tell my son, we talking about like I said people kiss and I said something he's like, no, that's more than kissing. That's making out. People lick each other when they make out. And I was like, we need to talk because if you start licking someone if you're making out with, you're gonna be infamous on TV. You're gonna be somewhere in a bad clip. Like, don't lick people when you're trying to be sexy.
Yeah, it's not licking, honey.
No, yeah, I don't know people, so I won't go there.
Did you
Okay,
did you go to the Bachelor in Paradise ever?
I went to it. So there was something called Bachelor Pad before Bachelor in Paradise. Are you
Oh,
familiar with Bachelor Pad?
I'm positive I watched all of it. This is bringing back memories.
Yeah. So I was on the Bachelor Pad, which was like season 3, which was the last season before I think it was the last season before they switched to Bachelor in Paradise. Like a different, so essentially from what I heard from the grapevine is that, this Bachelor Pad was actually a previous contestant, his idea, Jesse Sinsack. Are you familiar with him? Apparently, it was like his idea. And so he approached the producers like, excuse me, but, I want to be a part of this. Like, I pitched this idea to you. Now, this is all just hearsay, girls. We're discussing. But so there's none of this is necessarily set in stone, of course. Throwing that disclaimer out there, but news, like word on the street is that he approached them and was going to like sue them for them taking his idea. And, then he must have had some sort of substantial claim because now they shut down Bachelor Pad and created Bachelor in Paradise, which turned out to be just fine for the Bachelor because Bachelor in Paradise is, I think, more interesting than any of them. So,
oh my gosh.
so everyone wins, I guess, except from Jesse Sinsack. His idea is gone.
So
Yeah.
did you find love in any of those places?
No, honestly, I was really naive. Like, I was just so young and I really wanted to find love. And honestly, I wish I had just gone on there to have fun, and just like enjoy the like free trip around the world. And, I don't know, like living in a quote unquote mansion, which I'm sure you've heard is like far, far from a mansion really. But like there's literally like rodents roaming around and like yeah, it's it's an interesting house, that's sure. But anyways, no, I really wanted to, and I think I was just really far too serious. Like, I think even, the
I
dudes
mean,
who
you
go on
were
that.
22, you know what I mean? Like you're doing
Yeah.
the best you can at 20. Like I
Yeah.
think
Right.
that's why they go for young people because people at 22, you take things so like you don't have the experience to be like super confident and be like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna just roll with it and have fun. Like they
Yeah.
need that. They I mean it is a TV show after all, they need that. They need the
Yeah.
they
Well, I've
needed you to
never.
kiss that, like open your let
Mhm.
me show you. They love that. That's probably
Oh,
the
they
best
ate
moment.
that up. Yeah. And what's great about it is people always wonder, like, is that scripted? Is it scripted? It's like, geez, like, I wish I could say that was scripted. Like, I literally, I mean, they did feed me four shots of vodka, essentially. I had two double. So it's not like they definitely help enhance their show with alcohol, from behind the scenes, but that's not even a secret. Everyone knows that you're always drinking on that show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think that, I've always been like a little insecure. It's always something that I've been working on, like just finding my own confidence. I think when you grow up with just, I don't know, like probably anybody really, but, I grew up with my mom just not really being present. And so then my friends would have like just like normal, what I thought was a normal home life and whatnot. And so then, my mom, like, just doing her thing. I tend to feel less than, I think, when I'm around women or back then, like, just girls who, I don't know why. I'm literally in therapy and I'm figuring it out because I'm like, why do I think I'm less than? Like I went to school, I made something of myself, but I think that when you're being called trailer trash and, people know that your mom's addicted to drugs and that you have custody of your siblings and, like there was a period in my life where I couldn't even shower because we didn't have electricity or heat. And so I would try to rotate going to my friends' houses for showers, but I would always feel bad because like one of my friends' moms, she was like, Jamie, make this one fast because like they had a well and she was like sick of me showering at her house. And
Aw.
so I got like people would be like, oh, something smells. And so whether it was me or not, I don't even know, but I instantly
Oh, it
assumed
smells.
I must be the one that smells because I'm the one that's not showering every day. And I think that kind of insecurity really sticks with you. And it's something that you kind of have to unpack as you're an adult. But,
Like, and also, don't you feel like it's part of society where like we value like money and people who have
yeah,
things, and we have set the value so strong in society about like, that's why people go in debt, major debt to have things they can't afford. And, we're so afraid to say, oh, I can't afford that. Like, we
yeah,
just pretend. I feel like it's ingrained in us as like um, like, I, when I remember just like an equate, like a comparison when I lived in when I worked in Africa, they basically valued people who had curvy bodies, and people with smaller bodies were probably didn't have money, where people with curvy bodies could afford food and had money. So women would pad themselves to have
uh,
to have larger bodies. And I
mm-hmm,
thought to myself, they couldn't understand why people want to be skinny, the women. And I was like, it's what as society we value. So if you grow up in comparison to wealth, where or popularity, like social media is a popularity contest, we're always going to feel inferior because there's always someone with more. There's always someone with more than us. And that's hard.
yeah. And I feel like to touch on that, like standards are consistently changing. So like
Mm,
if you are a woman and you're trying to keep up with, and this is like, I guess a little bit different, but just like for in general, for literally every woman on the planet of the earth, if you're trying to keep up with the beauty standards, I
mhm.
mean, you can't like, especially like, I mean, you could be in America, just like you say, you could be in America and the idea is a super skinny waist. And I mean, just like 20 years ago, Twiggy was like the thing.
Right.
And
Kate
there's nothing,
Moss. Remember
yeah,
Kate
Kate
Moss?
Moss. Yes, like that's like the beauty standard just 20
Mhm.
years ago. And there's nothing wrong with their body structures, that they're beautiful women, but there's also nothing wrong with like, and I hate to like use Kim Kardashian as an example because she's clearly done, like plastic surgery, which are also there. I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. But like the beauty standard is consistently changing. So if you have a body like Twiggy, 20 years ago, you were the it girl, you know, like you were the like goal of, and which is why bulimia and anorexia became such a thing.
Yeah.
And now, you know, if you have a body like Kim Kardashian with the booty, then you're the it girl. Like you look
Yeah.
great. And
You
if you
can't
don't have
keep
a
up.
booty, you can't keep up. And
Yeah.
what about us women who just happen to have like, you know, postpartum bodies that just like the normal extra 20, 30 pounds. And, you know, like that's, there should be no shame or like stigma around it, but yet there is. So yeah, it's a constant
That'll
thing.
probably become the hot body when we're like 80 and we're gonna be like,
Right.
why wasn't it hot when we were young?
Right. Yeah.
So you did, so, okay. So I know, so, I mean, given that I know you touched upon it, but when did you take custody? I think just there's so much undervalue in your, you know, your resilience and like the fact that you feel not enough, but it's like so much, you know, like it's so
Yeah.
much that it's like you did so much that most people could never do. Like what?
Even if they had all the money and two married parents at home, like
Yeah.
still, like you have to come
Yeah.
out. How did this all happen?
How
Okay.
when did you get the custody of your siblings?
Okay, so to like, well, first to back it up, well, thank you
Yes.
for that. But honestly, I think that anybody would do, you know, what I did. And honestly, I think that a really, I think an important thing to do in life is to know that like, no matter what your struggle is, no matter what, you know, problem or obstacle is in your way, don't look at it as a problem or an obstacle if you're able to try to like spin it differently and find some sort of gratitude with it. Because I'm telling you, I was so happy when I had custody of my siblings and it was just us in that
Oh.
trailer. Like, and that
How
sounds so,
old were you?
so it's a kind of a long story. So I was 19 when they first came to live with me and I didn't have custody at that point. Like my mom had written a note for them to get off the bus because literally the trailer that she was in, I mean, we had no, like I said, we had no heat, we had no electricity, and she was constantly getting eviction notices. And eventually they ended up like literally locking her out. And she was like, I can't even get in. So can they just get off the bus at your place? And I had just started renting this little like shack, like next to my grandparents' house actually. And it was a little trailer. And I was like, yeah, of course. And so that's kind of how it happened. I didn't even know like that they were going to just stay with me. My mom just didn't come back. And so we just kind of formed like, I don't know, almost like Little House on the Prairie or like Party of Five or whatever. Like we just had our own little thing. Like remember I had a boyfriend and if he wanted to take me to the movies for Valentine's Day. And I was like, I can't go without my siblings, like obviously. And so
How old were your
all of us,
siblings? How old were the
they were
siblings?
twins. So the youngest are twins and they were, let's see, if I was 19, so my sister would have been 16 and they would have been 14.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah. So it's not like they were, you know, little. We were all teenagers, really.
Still little, still young, right? Still little.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this challenge is like, I don't know, you guys know, like, cause I know you have a couple older girls, like
Mhm.
teenagers are pretty effing challenging, especially little girls.
Yes,
Because,
I didn't even think of that when you said, yeah, you're right. Yep, you're right.
like, I mean, in a different way, right? Like my sister Leah, she really wanted to smoke cigarettes like all the time. Like she, you know, my heart goes out to my siblings, like in the worst way. And I'm so I'm my period. So forgive me if I, you know, you're bringing me back to a time where I'm like, I don't know. It's just like, it's interesting to think about just because, you know, my sister Leah, she would, I just like feel really bad because they were obviously, so my sister Leah was 5 years younger than me. And so
Mhm.
she, just imagine 5 years younger, like I was 19. So I was able to like be a freshman in college and I was able to have a job so I could get like my, you know, like buy my own clothes at least. You know, my sister Leah is here, like literally in her early teens dealing with a mom who's gone all the time. And I was, you know, I'm always just not upset with myself, but maybe a little bit just because I was a teenager and self-absorbed and just wanted to get myself out of there. So when the heat was gone and all the things, like instead of like thinking I should bring my siblings with me, like I just pieced out and I was like, see ya. Cause like my mom, I remember my sister had written, this little sister, Leah, who's 5 years younger than me, had written a note, and this is like gets me every time, but she had written a note to my mom begging her for like a girls' day and to just be present essentially. And I remember finding that note wadded up in my sister's bedroom, and I went to my mom's bedroom and like banged on her door. She would lock herself in her bedroom doing God knows what. And she'd like blare the music and tell us to like leave her alone. And all of this to say real fast, small caveat is my mom had a rough go herself. So like, I want to be gentle on my mom, but as a mom myself, I'm like, how the F did you do that? But still, I want to be gentle on my mom because she had a rough go herself. But I remember pounding on the door like, Mom, did you read this letter from Leah? That's my sister, Leah. I was like, did you, like, she's begging for not even anything. Like she's just wanted just quality time with you. Like she's begging for your attention. And my mom's like, leave me alone. Like my mom just, didn't, I want to say she didn't have support, she had no, like, she didn't have positive coping mechanisms. Obviously she
100.
chose to do like, drugs and whatnot. So, I don't know, needless
She
to
was
say,
probably doing the best she could with what
she was
like she was, that was
exactly.
all she had. That's what I
And
hear you say.
honestly, that is exactly it. And, you know, so this is not at all a bash session on my mom, of course.
No.
Although to be fully transparent, for a very long time, I felt so bitter to my mom. And I was like, how could you? Like she did some awful things. Like after I ended up gaining custody of my sibling, my sister Amy Lynn, wanted to get a car, and she asked for me to co-sign for it, of course, because she didn't have any credit or any money really. And it's not like we got some fancy car. She got $1,000 car, like, and I co-signed with the $1,000 that I paid. Like, I saved every dime I possibly could to like be able to help her get this car. And I was like, there's one stipulation: do not let Mom borrow it, because our mom would be notorious of like borrowing things and whatnot. And my sisters were just begging for her love and her attention, and they would do anything to make her happy because that's their mom. And of course, my sister let my mom borrow the car, and her drug addict boyfriend sold it for drugs. I'm not even kidding you.
Oh no.
And like in the nick of time, I go over there and I put on like my big girl panties and I pretend like I'm all tough. And we go, because my sister Amy Lynn's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't listen, and I gave it to Mom, and she's not giving me the car back. And I was like, we're gonna go over and get it. I had no idea that he like sold it, I guess, for drugs or whatever. I also had no idea what this dude looked like, because I never met him. And so I get to the apartment, and literally my mom is living in this apartment with like boarded up windows and a camera outside, like a true drug dealer's apartment. And I was like, holy crap, I better get out. I literally called the cops just so they could be aware of the situation, because I was like, I think I might die. Like this guy, because he like, it was a long story. So needless to say, my mom's been through a lot, but I've also been pretty bitter, towards her. And then I went to nursing school, and I feel like mental illness is something that is just so not talked about. And I think that when someone struggles with mental illness and they don't get the help that they need, and they feel judged consistently, I mean, that was definitely my mother. And then they turn to drugs. I mean, it's a downward spiral. So,
and I think you highlighted something, like for some moms, that relationship is complicated in the best of circumstances. It's a complicated relationship, the mother-daughter, for a lot of people. And I think what you're like emphasizing is you can love your mom and also really be like angry and mad at what, like, there, have feelings, and it's not always just I'm a lot of social media pictures, you'll see we're best friends and couldn't live with it. But a lot of people, it's a complicated relationship, and doesn't mean you don't love them. It just means you can fucking be so mad and pissed at what they did, but the love is still, you still want them, the love of your mother, like that's in you.
You seem, I mean, we'll talk more about like where you're at now and how you got there, but seeing how you are like successful, seems like, uh, really traditional now style family. Where are all your siblings at? And did everybody turn out like you?
Um, well, I think that and this is something that I learned from therapy. I'm a huge fan of therapy. First of all, when I had custody of my siblings, I've always been the kind of person that like strive for perfectionism, and which is like honestly I guess a blessing and a curse. But I wanted like straight A's. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to I'm a people pleaser. I want to make everyone happy. And so my sisters this is what I was trying to get at, is that they were
Oh,
significantly younger going through these changes with their mom gone. They're moving all the time. Like the electricity's off. So they're staying with friend. Like we lived with like my mom's boyfriend. We lived all over the place. And I was a little bit older, which made me a little bit wiser and a little bit more
mm-hmm,
experienced.
mm-hmm.
They were still so young. And so that's the hard part for me, is just thinking to myself, like what the, just what they went through. Because when I was like their age, I should say, like my mom was only just getting into like the bad part of it.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like just starting. It's not like I grew
oh,
up like my whole life. I mean, it was on and off, and it was never as bad as it was when, it was never as bad as it was at that time when I ended up gaining custody of my siblings. So,
okay.
needless to say, they are incredible and they're amazing. And I think that to measure success, everyone measures it differently. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe someone thinks, a lot of money in the bank is successful. Literally, my sister Leah thinks farm animals and how many cows she has. I mean, she literally, like, we grew up in, Hickville. And so she literally, if she gets more cows, she's like, well, I've got this many cows. And,
Ah,
like, so to her, maybe she doesn't have money in the bank, but those cows, every head is, a pretty penny. And she's like, I got this many cows on
So
the
she's
farm. And
happy. She's
yes,
happy.
yeah. And
aw,
so, in like, the true measure of success really does not come down to, and I can tell you that because I literally have had, no two pennies to
no.
rub together. And I was the happiest of my life at that point, like when I had
Wow.
custody of my siblings. And I think it's because I didn't even know that like I was going through quote unquote such a hard time. You just do, And so
Yeah.
I think like I feel like the biggest takeaway of it all is that no matter what you're going through, like just know that like, well, first of all, there are people struggling with things that, harder to, and that doesn't, eliminate the pain and the struggles that you're going through. But like, we get one life to live, and inevitably life is rough. And so, you know, instead of kind of feeling bad for yourself or, thinking that you're going through such a hard time, if you can, try to think of something positive and like and find some sort of gratitude, because everyone's going through a hard time, in
I
life.
love
And
that.
to just feel bad for yourself, like truly, like I know this is a touchy situation because a lot of people say feel your feelings, and I'm all about that too, but be careful not to pity yourself or feel bad for yourself, because it will lead you into a downward spiral of like depression. And it's okay to feel down for a day or two, go for it. I tell my kid all the time, it's okay to feel sad, honey, like, let your feelings out, but just try not to like wallow in self-pity, because it really does bring you down.
It can eat you up. It can like
Yeah.
consume you. Oh it's so it's so crazy that you have, it seems like you just have so much knowledge, and you have so much that people could learn from it. It's hard to believe that you have like struggle with fitting or like not feeling like you're enough. Like it's so hard to believe, because honestly, when we had that conversation on your podcast, you stuck with me the entire time, just like your story, your journey, like we even touched upon it. And I'm like, it's really hard. It's so hard because you're like, and you're amazing. Like it's
Yeah,
so
and you have
there's
such
so
a good
many
perspective on it.
positive message. Yeah. Like not
Oh,
many
thanks, Jay.
people can share so vulnerably, but and so openly, but so like optimistic. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So many layers that you're sharing. And it's like, it's pretty amazing.
Well, I remember I found you guys because, and everybody I ever have on my podcast, I basically like find them on Instagram, love them. And then I'm like, hey, you want to come on the podcast?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I remember, I mean, I love you girls. I was like, I want them to be my friend. And, just because you guys are so, I mean, everybody thinks that about you guys. Like you guys are just
So
so
kind.
fun and, just like a good time. And, And yeah, I've always like,
Oh, we have issues too. Don't you worry about that
oh,
over
I
here.
know.
You
And that's
know
why I
what I
love you.
mean? Oh
Oh,
my
and that's
God.
exactly why I love you, is that you girls are, you are just as transparent, and you
Yeah.
share the good, the bad, the ugly, and that's life. And I feel
Yeah.
like you got,
The
when you
beauty
can
of it.
find, yeah, when you can find people who, I don't know, who are willing to be, to kind of like admit their quote unquote, you know,
Mhm.
dare I say, mom truths,
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
then,
mhm.
then
Yep.
like, I mean, then stick with that person, because you got to have that kind of, I don't know, army behind you, or like
It's
if it's
true.
just one buddy beside you, like you just need to have some
Totally.
sort of
Or a
support.
community online that you don't even know, because some people don't have access to people in their lives, you know? We haven't even gotten to the TV
Y-
show that has
You
led
I know.
have
to
you
where,
have to tell us
because this is
how'd
the
you
craziest story.
yeah. So
Yo,
how'd you meet your husband?
like, listen to the
Yeah.
story. Like, whatever you're doing, stop
This
and
is so
listen.
wild.
Okay. So now that you know about my past, I
Yep.
obviously, I didn't touch on it, but I'll tell you, I didn't know my father. So I went, you know, my whole life looking for, my father. And, I had 4 paternity tests, never knew my dad, and never really had a good example of relationships. I mean, my mom was literally beaten to a bloody pulp many, many times by my stepdad. And, you know, I would watch like the cops come and break it up and put him in the back seat. And then my mom would be like, no, don't take him, because like she felt like we needed a dad. And so long story short, I truly didn't have a good example of relationships and love. And I knew that I was fully aware that I had commitment issues and trust issues and whatnot. And so, and The Bachelor, I was like, I clearly suck at dating. I honestly have no idea how to be sexy or woo a man. And so when they had cold called me, this show called, it was called The Love Experiment. At least that's what they said it was called. And they asked if I needed help dating. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, well, we have these experts, and this is more like a docu-series. And, you know, if you're interested, basically like these experts would analyze you in a lot of different singles in the tri-state area. And if they find the quote unquote perfect match for you, then, you know, they'll put you together and they will kind of hold your hand throughout the dating process to
Wait, do you
see
get
like,
paid for any of these? Or no, this is all just a volunteer on TV shows?
so this is the thing for the Bachelor, you don't get paid. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but you
No.
don't get paid
No.
unless you're the top 4 girl. And so if you're the top 4 girl, you get
Oh.
paid maybe like, I think, well, back when I was doing it, which was eons ago, I don't know if they've changed it, but it was like 15. I mean, you don't get paid very much. I mean, you get paid nothing really. And you have to supply all your own wardrobe, your own makeup, all the things. For the Married at First Sight, which is the show.
Her face is
They
like,
have so
pardon?
many. I'm like, there's so many clothes and so like all those dresses. I totally thought they gave a budget for all that.
Oh no, you have to literally bring all your own. So I was like, you know, I'm like a girl from a trailer park. I have no money. I only just became a nurse. So I'm like sitting there like, which actually turns out great that I'm in a trailer park, because it's very inexpensive, obviously. And also shout out to all the trailer park girls, because there's no shame in living in a trailer park. But I just went to the secondhand store, and I mean, that's where I still shop at the secondhand store. I freaking love the secondhand store.
And
You know,
Jamie, my cousin lived in a trailer park for many years, and it was a double wide, and it was beautiful. Like, some of them
yeah,
are beautiful
yeah,
inside.
some
You
of
should have
them,
been a trailer park, and I was like, she lives in a double wide. It's beautiful.
yeah, you can't even tell when you're on the inside.
Yeah, no, it's
But
beautiful.
yeah, but anyways, what was I saying to you?
You were saying money, you were getting paid, and then so I was
Oh
wondering
yeah,
if you're
yeah.
getting paid for
So for
not love. We don't know it's Love at First Sight right now, but got
Yeah.
it. It's called that other one.
it's yeah, so yeah, so you do get paid on Bachelor Pad, you get paid, or Bachelor in Paradise, you also get paid like episodic rates. So as long as you're there for however long, then you'll be paid, like compensated for that. And for Married at First Sight, I'll just be transparent and say how much like we were paid. We weren't offered any money. So like when they called me, this wasn't a show like this. I was on season 1 of Married at First Sight, and it wasn't a show. It had only been done in Denmark. And so kind of how they got me was by showing me that and telling me that, oh, this one couple there, it's been a year. Well, there was 2 of them that were still together, but one was trying for a baby. And I was like, oh, I want that so bad. Like, I don't know. I just, and it was so different than The Bachelor, because it wasn't full of drama, you know, it was really like awkward but like unique chemistry. And so anyways, long after, you know, they revealed that you're actually marrying a complete stranger, and that was actually what the show is. It's actually called Married at First Sight, not The Love Experiment. And you're going to get married on March 23rd, 2014, if we find you a match. Which was a lot to digest, but they also said, also like, you have to work your real job. Like, I had to work my 40 hours at the hospital plus film the show and all the things, but to me it was worth it. And also, so for the whole entire season you got paid $15,000,
Okay.
which is, I feel like, a pretty good sum of money, but it's certainly, you're not becoming rich off
No.
of marrying a stranger.
No. No.
But yeah, so I got paid $15,000. My husband got paid $15,000, and I was already like, well, geez, like, that's definitely an improvement from The Bachelor. I didn't get paid anything on there.
How did how they found you? I assume because they'd seen you on The Bachelor before. Where did they find your husband?
So my husband had,
Good question.
yeah, it's a good question. And actually how they find a lot of people. So they do cold outreaches to like law firms, like just all, like everything you could think of, like restaurants. And they literally, this is how they did it before. Now I found out that they actually like message people on Instagram. Instagram wasn't such a big thing. I mean, this was like 7.5 years ago at this point, but now they like messages. So I'm like, some of these people probably just want to be Instagram stars or something.
Yeah.
Cause I'm like, what's going on with the show?
Yes.
But yeah, so my husband, he had actually applied to be on a show from The Rock called The Hero or something. And he wanted to do some obstacle course, like competitive show. And so they had gotten his information somehow through that. And then of course my information, like I was already on The Bachelor. So, which was interesting that they even wanted someone who was on The Bachelor, because, and that was a bit of an issue, like whether or not I took it seriously, like marriage and whatnot. But yeah, that's it.
So what the heck? Hold on a second. In your show, do you literally marry your husband the first time you lay eyes on him?
Yeah. So I
did you get to talk to him before?
No, I didn't.
Wait. So, and you have to say yes or no. You have to say yes, or you have to say yes or no.
Well, you don't have to per se. Like, I guess I could have like walked out of it, but I felt like this is I'm such a people pleaser. I did not want to say yes when I saw my husband the first time, which turns out, for anyone who goes on a blind date and you're not attracted immediately, well, maybe you should give the dude a chance, because I've been married to my husband now for 7 years.
And by the way, guys, Jamie is open about this on her podcast. I remember you have said, like, in the beginning, I was like, I don't know if it took a little while for the love to grow. Obviously you just met, but this isn't like you being like, he knows this. This is not like, this is not a secret that you're sharing. Like, it's not like
you can literally watch it all unravel. It's not a pretty sight. I'm like batting. I don't know what the batting, like 2 for 2, I guess. Like I sucked wooing The Bachelor, then I sucked at wooing my husband too.
So wait, so then, okay. So now you're married, and then like, do you leave together and drive off and go to like live together? Like, how did you not like cancel it after that? Like, how did you stay committed to?
Yeah. Okay. So this is what happened. First of all, these experts, I really genuinely like trusted them and believed in the process, in the scientific process behind it. So I went to school to be a nurse. I'm really into like, I don't know, analytics and whatnot. And they were like, listen, right now, marriage and divorce, it's 50-50 in America, like quite literally. And so we're thinking, if we can, analyze these people and kind of like create a couple based on like all the things that they actually want with a partner, their background, their history, all the things, like, could that potentially work out better than someone trying to find their own partner?
Right.
And obviously arranged marriages have been around for eons. I mean, they're still happening. And so it's not a completely unfound. I mean, the only thing that's kind of weird is that your parents aren't arranging you. It's actually like these quote unquote experts. But
that actually seems like a better idea.
Kind of, right? I mean,
I totally agree.
Know.
Yeah. Everyone should do it before they get married.
What was that?
Everyone should do it before even if you find a partner, like go to these experts and like dissect and see if you could really make it.
yeah, are
Yeah.
you really truly compatible?
Yeah.
So anyways, that's kind of how they got you. So that's how they got me like into my wedding gown, and my sisters were the bridesmaid. I mean, this is a very legal wedding, and I really believe that like this was kind of like what I needed in life, because I like I said, like at the top of the call, like I tend to be a little insecure, and clearly not that great at dating. And so I was like, if someone could help me like not freak out over the small things and communicate better and have better trust, then like I'm down. And so one expert, her name's Dr. Pepper, just to kind of add insult to injury. One of the experts is Dr. Pepper. I really vibed well with her, and I felt like she was just so authentic and genuine. And so when she's
Wow.
a match, I was like, okay, like I'm trusting you that this isn't,
Do you
crazy.
still
And
talk to her now or no? Dr.
oh
Pepper is
yeah,
no more.
so
Oh, I love that.
yeah, no, so I actually host the show now. So Married at First Sight has been on for several seasons. It's actually just wrapped up the last season, which was in Atlanta.
So you're the host?
Yeah,
For
I
how
host.
Shit,
long?
I need to. What do we get this in
I
Canada
don't know if
yet?
we get it in Canada. I don't know if we get
Yeah,
it
I don't
in
know
here.
actually if you do
I don't
either.
think, I feel like, I mean,
You
when you have
host
kids,
it?
you kind of
Yeah,
take,
so
we need
I
to
don't
go
really share
find
about
that.
that much on Instagram, because
Why?
I don't know. I'm like, to me, it's like, I don't know. I almost, I don't know if it seems like bragging or something. I don't know. Like I'm not
Oh my
trying to be like,
gosh, Jamie,
I'm
they,
the host.
how many years have you been the host?
I've been the host since we only started this as like a digital project. It's called Married at First Sight Unfiltered, where I interview the cast.
Yeah.
It started out years ago from like the first season. I mean, I've been the host since day one. So now
Oh
it's
my,
been probably 5 years, I guess. Yeah.
I
And
would
you're still a
freaking
nurse.
brag about that I've been hosting a show for 5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes you
Yeah.
get bragging rights because that's pretty remarkable. That's an
Yeah.
amazing, you know, especially for people who maybe don't come from a lot and think they could never be something like a host of a
Mhm.
TV show. Like,
That's, not for nothing. That's for sure something I should probably talk about more, because nothing would make me like, I don't know, make me prouder or happier than to know that I inspired someone to
yes,
like live
Mhm.
and to know, because I'm telling you that the one thing that really helped me feel like I could be quote unquote somebody or something was seeing and like reading different I used to be obsessed with reading autobiographies and different like memoirs, and just
yes.
see like this is a brand like, I mean, Marilyn Monroe, which is a very strange example, but she was a foster child, and she like what I mean, like stories like hers, but also there's another story. It was Homeless to Harvard. Have you guys heard about that story?
No.
It's like this girl who was like legit homeless, and then ended up going to Harvard and like graduating. So she literally went from homeless. I mean, like, so I used to like just devour these books because I was begging for my own way out, and I just didn't know
Mhm.
how to get out. And I
Oh, we
never,
need this. And just even
uh,
the every, so many women we talk to just feel like they could never, they become and they could never do anything more. Like they're like,
yeah,
I don't believe in myself to do this, but you are like such a risk taker. It's like
I know, it's
unbelievable.
crazy.
And it's so inspiring. Like, it
Yes.
would be so easy to be like, that could never happen to me, but that can happen to you. Like, look at your hard work and like, saying yes and being open to the universe and trying things where you are. Like, what a fucking lesson for people. Like,
Mhm.
look what you're
yeah.
doing, that's remarkable.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, I mean, nothing, that would be awesome if, someone, I don't know, just, well, that happened actually once to me when I was on, like, right after The Bachelor. I was on the train, I was in Manhattan on the train going downtown. And she wasn't a little girl, maybe she was like a teenager or something. And she tapped me on the shoulder. And I had never been like now it's a little bit more common that someone will just like be like, Jamie, hi, but like back then I had never been approached by a stranger who knew me or like something about me. And she literally told me that she saw me on The Bachelor. She knew I was a nurse, and she knew obviously that I came from a trailer, because they really kind of exploited like the whole
Mhm,
trailer thing.
mhm.
And I feel like that's like, to answer your question, I feel like they probably liked that I was in a trailer, maybe, I don't know, but
Okay. Right.
you know because I never had me. I don't know. I
Mhm.
haven't really kept up with it that much. But in any case, this little girl was like, you really inspired me to go to nursing school. And I was like, what?
Aw.
Like, I mean, it like that will always stick with me because I was like, I was always very ashamed. I never told, I'm a wide open book now, but when I went on The Bachelor, even though I had to share, I felt like I had no choice but to share that I lived in a trailer. I didn't tell a soul that I lived in a trailer. I didn't tell anybody that my mom struggled with drugs. I didn't tell anybody that I had custody of my siblings. I
Mhm.
didn't tell a soul. I was so ashamed and embarrassed of all of these things. And then when that little girl said she saw, like that I came from a similar life, I guess, to her. And although I'm like, maybe she, I don't know, I'm like, I don't think there's trailer parks in the city, but I don't know, I'm not sure. But in any case, like she was like, it just inspired me that she was inspired by me. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God. And
Yeah.
honestly, like if you have, I kept that all so hidden and I was so ashamed of it for so long and now that I'm an adult, I'm like, girl, this isn't even your issue. Like, this is your mom's issue. Like, it's not,
Yeah.
why are you
Good
ashamed of it?
point. Good
But
point.
that's, I think, kind of what happens, I think, when you have kids. And so I'm being really careful myself not to put any of my insecurities into my daughter or my son. But anyways, like I think that that like that's why I'm now like a wide open book, because like I hope it inspires someone to know that they can that they're, first of all, they're not alone in their struggles. No one's alone in their struggles. We are all in this together. But also, like, God, it's freeing. Like now, like if
Mm.
no one can pick on me and call me trailer trash, like because I told you I live in a trailer, like it's not like a, like if you put your skeletons out there, if you're the one to like reveal them to the world, then
Yes.
no one can hold them over your
There's
head.
no power in it. There's zero
Yeah,
power. You're like, okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I never discovered that until, like, thank God for The Bachelor picking me, because I probably would still be like hiding my skeletons in the closet, trying to be. And this is the thing, is that, when you see those Instagrammers, and I know you guys obviously aren't them, but like, I almost have empathy for the Instagrammers who, filter themselves constantly and contour their bodies to be a certain shape and whatnot, because they don't see their own worth and their own beauty without having to put the filter on and the contour or
Mhm.
lose weight and it's like, oh, my heart goes out to you because you are so much more than all of that, but
And it's so much more work too.
yes,
Like,
it's exhausting to try to keep up with that. Like, I'm
and then
tired.
people see you and they're like, oh, and you're like, oh God, I don't want to go in public because I'm not me. It's a vicious, vicious cycle. And
Yeah.
now you and your husband are madly in love. You went
Yeah,
on your,
sorry.
no, I remember,
I'm not talking about Married at First Sight at all here.
no, it's a pod, you can talk about, this is
No,
our podcast is like
I
hanging out
love
with girlfriends. It's never like, there's no
no, I know.
script, no questions.
And I feel
It's
like
just,
all your stories always they always sort of end with such a good outlook on something and like a lesson for all the listeners to like, to do something in their life that'll make them feel better because of through the experiences that you've had. So although you have a lot of like interesting stories, they all lead to like insight. So it's so great because every time we bring something up, it always leads to something bigger and like more important and
Aw.
deeper than just the surface level of what we're talking about.
I do have to say you have a love story and you guys
Yeah.
got married at first sight.
Yeah.
And I remember, okay, tell me if I'm correct. You guys went away right after the show. You went away, right? Did you guys go somewhere on like they'd send you on a vacation?
I
Yeah,
will
yeah. So you
never
go on
get over
honeymoon.
this.
They send
It's
you
Never
like
on
a
get over
real
this.
wedding.
like
Yeah,
a, okay, so they send you on a honeymoon and you have to like, you're like, so do we make out? Like, what
yeah.
do we
Well,
do? Do we kiss?
yeah.
Oh,
No, I laid the ground rules. I've always been pretty verbal. I laid the ground rules really early that I did not want to pretend that I was like this happy in love bride just because they were filming a TV show. And I didn't want that. I felt like that wasn't fair to him, like to just pretend
Mhm.
that I was in love and like then I'm really not in love. And I wasn't sure if that's what they were expecting out of me, but I was like, that's not, I can't even pretend like I wasn't attracted to him. And it felt wrong in my stomach, to like be
Oh
legally
God.
married to someone that
Natalie's
I,
about to have a panic
I
attack for
just
yeah,
you.
I've heard like you told us about this before, but I cannot put myself in your body at that time. I just
uh,
can't.
I like, well, it was a train wreck, really. I mean, I literally was like a panic in a puddle on the floor in my wedding dress, trying to hide away from cameras with like my veil that is obviously see-through. And it, it was a train wreck. But honestly, I am so thankful because I remember the producer, she was like, Jamie, remember like why you did this? Like, remember your conversation with Dr. Pepper and how you felt so confident. And I was like, oh yeah, I was so confident. I don't know what was I thinking, but I was like, okay, like, and it wasn't, honestly, truly, like, it wasn't like my husband was like god awful to look at. It was more of a feeling, like, it was more of like, you envision your wedding day and having some sort of chemistry, of course, and it felt wrong, but like
How
all of a
did he
sudden,
feel?
well, he was quite happy.
I love you,
Oh,
Jamie.
so good.
Literally, I love you.
Yeah,
Literally, you're the best. Literally.
honestly, it was bad because he was like sweating and smiling from ear to ear, and my side of the room was like, oh boy, like what's, and I was just like, oh boy, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought that this was for real. And but he was nervous and he was very attracted, and we all act different ways and whatnot. I don't know. It turned out to be great though, because literally he was such a gentleman. He was so patient. And, I went through like, like I was,
That's my
And that-
son. He's leaving the room.
Okay.
Yes, he's gone.
totally get it. But yeah, I was, sexually abused as a kid. And so I've always been really, really awkward when it comes to like just intimacy in general, not even just sex. And my husband was so patient, and he was so unaffected and so strong and confident and just so loving around me. Like, even though I didn't have the best reaction, and even though anybody else would be like, what a snot for not being attracted to me, like anybody would have an ego blow from that, but like he didn't. And
Wow.
he was just like, he literally was just like, I'm gonna win her over.
And that's attractive. That
and that's hot as
confidence.
F. And
Yeah.
honestly, it really had nothing to do with him. It was more of a feeling, like,
Mm.
unless it was
like an
Brad.
unsafe feeling, right? Like just like for me,
Yeah.
yeah, I totally like it's like a homesick. You're like, I want my mom, bad example, but to come
Yeah.
and but like it's a feeling of being unsafe and wanting someone to make you feel safe. And that's what marriage is, right? The person who makes you feel safe
Yeah.
at all times. And if they don't make you feel safe, that's a really awful feeling, even if it's because they're mad, that safety feeling.
And the truth is that kind of safety is it's like an earned thing, and that's why you didn't feel it in the beginning.
Right, exactly. And I think that I was just so like blunt, like tunnel vision, that these experts were not going to like fail me, I guess. And then I felt like, oh my God, like, this is the truth though. This is honestly, the truth is I had such high expectations because they kept on saying that this guy that they matched me with was their favorite and he was so funny and I'm really going to like him. And then the producers be like, shh, she's not supposed to know anything about him. So I didn't know anything about him. They just kept saying, oh, we really like him. He's our favorite. He's so funny. Da, da, da. So I'm like, who is this going to be at the end of the aisle? Like, their favorite.
Right.
And he's so funny. And that's, I mean, not to just add another lesson, like after all the stories, but it's true. Like, I had such high expectations, and I should have had like no expectations. I mean, or at least a little less. I mean, come on, you're marrying a stranger. Like, what are you looking for?
Who's on Married at First Sight?
But yeah, so now I think the biggest takeaway of that though is truly like, don't judge a book by its cover, and maybe give like the guy that you're not attracted to, or the girl, a second chance, like get to know them rather than just instantly. I mean, if I had just been like, nope, like if I had just closed off my mind, I wouldn't have my husband, I wouldn't have our two beautiful children. I mean, I'd probably still be trying to straddle men and giving them kiss lessons and like be attractive, and it would just be a complete shit show, more so than it already is.
You're like a role model for the world. It's so
I know
what you've been through, you've talked about so many points, and I can think of someone in each point that could really, I mean, God, I literally could talk to you forever. I feel
I
like
feel the same
I
way.
don't want it
I
to
remember,
end. It's
I
like,
remember we
want,
felt this the last time, and sometimes I wonder if like we are all just kind of like we just like vibe, or if you're like that with everybody. Anyways, you don't have to say. You don't have to say. It's just so easy to talk to you.
Oh no, you guys, I love you girls. I mean, I started following you and reached out to you first because I love that you're just so, you were the first real moms on Instagram, you know, with your mom truths. And now it's like, you know, it's awesome that it's become more of a thing to just be, you know, super honest and
thank God.
transparent.
Yeah.
Thank
But
goodness. Yeah.
you guys are like the trailblazers, I feel like, who started with your mom truths just being silly in your car, you know, rapping about God knows what. As a matter of fact, you guys did a video to Lizzo.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Feeling bad as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but I remember
Feeling
that was the first time.
overwhelmed. It's like feeling overwhelmed.
Oh yeah, something like yeah. And I was like, oh, I love that. And like, I mean, you guys like I just have loved and adored you ladies for such a long time. I'm sure all of your listeners, obviously.
So Jamie, so Natalie, everyone loves her and vibes with her. She's just that person, and that's why she's
Got it.
No,
she's been on 4 TV shows because everybody loves her.
Oh no, honestly, I wish that was the case. Well, I guess you know, when you're on TV, like a lot of the people do not like me because, you know, they like, I got a lot of hate for not immediately like feeling in love with my husband and, you know, like, you know, you just get a lot of hate when you're on
judgment.
You're
Yeah.
like the original fairy tale. Like, forget Cinderella and all that shit. You're like the OG. Like, that's how it should be, you know? Like,
I
you
know.
meet the person and then you like get to know them, and then he's like, you know, doesn't give up on you. He's like, I'm gonna stand by you, even if all these things like,
I
you
know.
Oh my
I need
God.
to know, has there been any other successful married at first sights that have lasted like more than a couple of years?
I mean, so many at this point. So there have been there's many married at first sight babies.
I'm dying to go on.
I need to go. Is the Instagram? Is there an Instagram?
Yeah, it's on Lifetime. I think you guys have Lifetime.
We are
right?
watching this.
Jamie, we're like 7 years behind you guys. Like, you guys get a show and then we get it, like, you know, we get the reruns of you guys like new season, and we're like, we haven't even got it yet.
I texted my mother-in-law when the show Why Women Kill come out, and she's like, I can't find it anywhere. And then she was like, that was in here 2 years ago. And I'm like, okay, well, we missed out on that one. But there's
where's that one? That one sounds so good. Why
Women Kill? Yeah,
I love true crime.
Oh, so does Natalie.
I do, but it's actually not. It's a total drama. I think it's brilliantly done over with a whole bunch of different decades and storylines, but they all kind of relate to each other because it all happens in the same house, but you're watching it in like the 60s, 70s. It's really cool.
Wait, is it a reality show or is it a scripted show?
Scripted, and it's got famous people that you know in it, but I don't know how. It seems like nobody's heard of it. Every time I love a show, it gets canceled.
Every time I love a show.
That's when you know it's not going to last. Thank you so much for joining us. We took you for a long time because honestly, we have to cut ourselves off because we could talk to you forever.
You're like, this has been one of my favorite podcasts I've ever done. So thank you for
full of goodness.
I'm a longtime fan of you ladies, for real. And I'm always said, I just want to be your friend. Like everybody else.
We're friends. And we can't wait to come to Florida and hang out. And I want to tell you, this podcast is going to resonate with so many women. I hope you know that this conversation is just going to be one we will get DM'd and flooded with. So like, thank you, vulnerability, your honesty, your openness, your genuineness, your authenticity, everything is.
And thanks for letting us all lie in bed for this. That was amazing.
Oh my God. Thank you. Girls, I have to worry about doing my hair for cat and
no. Now it's time to go make dinner and get the babies, all fed.
All right, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie. Bye.